Okay, so today we're going to get the notes from our last class. And did anyone do the homework from yesterday? No. No homework, no learn. You have to do the homework to learn, right? Don't do the homework, how can you learn? Anyway, this doesn't work. Okay. This microphone doesn't work. Huh? No, I know. It's on. Yeah. Oh, it's taken out. You have to unravel this thing.
Well, this is also broken.
Broke?
Yeah, somebody it's completely broken.
It's broken. How is it broken? Yeah, the microphone's not broken. It's just this thing here. Turn it on. Let's see if it works. Does this other one work? Let's see. Okay, it doesn't matter. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I'll make it a little bit louder. Okay, so. So today we're going to discuss verse. Okay, you have your Bhagavad Gitas? You have Bhagavad Gita? You do. Okay, good. Let's take it out. Second chapter, 15th verse. Yam hi na vyateyanti ete purushar sabha. Second chapter, 15th verse. Samadukha sukham dhiram so mrtavaya kalpate. O Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. 15th verse. We looked at this yesterday in our class, and we'll just start by reading the purport. So, who wants to read the purport? Tulsi, you want to read? Yeah. Second chapter, 15th verse. Yam hi na vyatyanti te purusham purushar sabha samadukha sukam diram so murtabaya kalpate. Go ahead. Microphone, microphone, microphone. And turn this light on. Okay. Go ahead, Tulsi. Microphone's coming. Go ahead, you start. Just read again. Read out loud. Start from the beginning. Anyone? Very good.
Anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. In the Varnashrama institution, the fourth stage of life, namely the renounced order sannyasa, is a painstaking situation. But one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts the sannyasa order of life in spite of all difficulties. The difficulties usually arise from having to sever families, relationships, to give up the connection of wife and children. But if anyone is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to spiritual realization is complete. Similarly, in Arjuna's discharge of duties as a Kshatriya, he is advised to persevere even if it is difficult to fight with his family members or similarly beloved persons. Lord Chaitanya took sannyasa at the age of 24, and his dependents, young wife, as well as old mother, had no one else to look after them. Yet, for a higher cause, he took sannyasa and was studying the discharge of higher duties. That is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage.
Very good. You read very well. Thank you. Okay, so this verse, O Arjuna, a person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress, is steady in both, is certainly eligible for liberation. Okay, now this verse is all about how to attain eternal life. What does that mean, eternal life? Huh? How to attain immortal life, yeah. Or eternal life. There's no more birth and no more death. So Prabhupada just said, anyone who's steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual life and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. So we have to tolerate, if we're determined for spiritual realization, at the same time we have to learn to tolerate all the difficulties of life. What are the difficulties of life? Sanskriti, can you explain what the difficulties of life are? Is that the answer?
Happiness and distress.
Is happiness a difficulty of life? I don't think you were listening.
Sorry.
She needs the answer, so she needs the mic.
Okay.
The difficulties of life is having to sever family relationships and to give up connection.
You need the microphone so everyone can hear you. This class is being broadcast. Go ahead.
The difficulties of life are having to
Not severe.
sever family relationships and to give up connection of wife and children.
But you're going to have a wife?
and husband.
Yeah, so you have to give up family relations, right? But that's not the answer. The answer is birth, death, old age, and disease, right? Those are the difficulties of life. And at a certain point, there are 4 stages of life. There's brahmachari, or brahmachari, and grihastha, and vanaprastha, and sannyas. So, the husband takes sannyas, but the wife also, if she's loyal to her husband, will live like a sannyasi, even though she doesn't formally take sannyas, because it's not recommended for women to take sannyas. However, they can live like a sannyasi under the protection of their children, or in the holy place like Vrindavan or a temple, and continue the rest of their life and always thinking about Krishna and go back to Godhead. So these things are sometimes not easy to do, to break attachment to family and home and live a renounced life. But it's required that one be able to do this if they want to go back to Godhead. So, if we understand what is the constitutional position of our soul, we know that we're not the body. We're the soul that's trapped in the body. What is the constitutional position of the soul? You know, Prabhu? You know? Yes. That's our constitutional position, to be a servant of Krishna, serve Krishna. So if we understand that, then our whole life should be to organize our activities so that we have maximum time to serve Krishna. It's like when you have a car. When you have a car, you're sitting inside the car driving it. Are you the car?
No.
What are you? You're the person driving the car. So if someone sees, let's say you have a blue Toyota, right? Prius. And someone sees you driving down the street and they say, oh, there is Sanskriti driving the blue, but they don't see Sanskriti, they just see the blue Toyota. They say, oh, that's Sanskriti. Are you the blue Prius? No. You're the driver of it, but you're not the car itself. So in the same way, when we mistake the body for the person, it's like mistaking the car for the driver. Now, the car itself, is the car immortal? Is the blue Toyota Prius immortal? No. So is there anyone that is immortal? The driver. Right? The driver is immortal. Right? But the driver, after some time, might get rid of the blue Toyota Prius and buy a red Ford Mustang. So they can change the car, right? Same driver, but they can change the car. So in this life, one may have the body of a human being, but because they live sinfully, next life, they can have the body of a pig. Same driver, different body. Just like same driver, different car. Because the car is not immortal. The material body is not immortal, but the soul is. So the constitutional position of the soul is to serve Krishna, but as long as we serve other purposes in life, we keep changing bodies. It's only when we decide to dedicate our present life in the human body completely to serving Krishna, then we can attain our constitutional position as the eternal servant of Krishna, go back to Godhead, and act like the real part and parcel of Krishna. We're all coming from Krishna. We're all part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is eternal, that means we're eternal. But because we are fooled by Maya, thinking that we'll be happy in the material world, that we can be a controller and an enjoyer and dominate material nature, we're stuck here, always struggling, always being disturbed by happiness and distress. There's a nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which says, Manda Sumanda, let me see, let me find the verse, Manda Sumanda, Manda, jeez. Okay, one second. Let me find this verse. To Bhagavad Gita 1 to 10, 2, 4. One second. Okay, anyway, we'll come back to it. So the question is, if we're immortal, how come we're in the material world? Well, first of all, how do we know we're immortal? Yes? Well, use the microphone, please. Where's the microphone? What was the answer? Because we're a soul? Can you turn the microphone on? Just keep it on all the time. Press the button. It should be turned green.
Because we're the soul and the soul is immortal.
Yes. What happened?
And it says
Take the other one.
it says in the Bhagavad Gita that
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
it says in the Bhagavad Gita.
Yes, it says, Najayate mriyate bhakadachin nayam bhutva bhavata vanabuya ajo nitya sasvatam yam purano nahanyate hanyamanesari. Second chapter, 20th verse. Look that verse up. Second chapter, 20th verse. What's it say? Second chapter, 20th verse. Get the microphone. 20. Get the microphone.
Translation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
For the soul, there is neither birth or death at any time. He has not come into being. He has not come into being.
Read it carefully. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just finding the page. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain.
Okay, so that means the soul is eternal, right? Ajo nitya saswatam yam purano nahanyate hanyamane sarire. Now, if you look at 15.7, 15.7, open that up. What does 15.7 say? Get the microphone. What does 15.7 say? 15. What's it say?
It says, the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which includes the mind.
Okay, so this verse explains that we're the eternal fragmental part of Krishna. In other words, we have an eternal soul, and it's part and parcel of Krishna. But we're struggling in the material world. Do you feel any struggling? How do you feel the struggling? Homework, school, and anything else? Sickness, competition. So many ways we're feeling the struggle, right? Getting up in the morning, taking a bath, going to sleep. Everything is like a little bit of a struggle, right? So as long as we're in the material world, we'll be struggling if we have material desires. If we change the quality of our desires from desiring material things to desiring to serve Krishna, something miraculous happens. What happens by changing the quality of your desires? What happens? Anything happens to the struggling? Get the microphone. We want to hear you say, Go ahead. What happens? If you give up material desires and replace them with spiritual desires.
Oh, then you'll start slowly getting liberated. Like when you reach the time of death, your soul will become liberated and you can be immortal.
Yeah, but one thing that you experience almost right away is no more struggling.
Yeah.
No more fighting material nature.
Yeah.
Because material nature belongs to Krishna, right? So when you try and take something that doesn't belong to you, there's going to be a struggle. The person it belongs to is not going to let you take it away so easily, right? And I mean, in a fight with Krishna, do you think you could ever win? No. But if we use the same thing in Krishna's service, the struggle goes away. And we become peaceful and happy. Because the Lord becomes our friend and makes everything easy for us. So everything, therefore, in life depends on our desires. When we desire to please Krishna instead of ourselves, then the path of liberation begins. So Krishna is in the heart, so he sees everything we're doing, he knows everything we're thinking. And he also understands what we're desiring. So if we desire Krishna, he will help us. So there's a very nice verse that says this. Shinvata swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana. You know this verse? Go ahead, say it. Okay. Anyway, it says that someone who takes a serious interest in hearing about Krishna, Krishna within the heart becomes very pleased, and therefore he takes a special interest in the devotee and helps him or her, make advancement so that they can continually hear and chant about him. So that's a nice thing, isn't it? To have Krishna on your side and always helping you. So therefore, all we have to do is change the quality of our desires. Now, all modern advertisement is trying to do what? What's the goal of modern advertisement? Let's say you see an advertisement for a type of cereal. Yes? Microphone? What? You have the microphone.
It's the signs, they say like that the cereal is really tasty, and then so then it makes you think that it would be tasty, so let me buy it so then I can eat it.
Yeah, it's trying to convince you that you will have a better sense gratification by eating this cereal than another cereal, right? So all modern advertisement is actually Maya, right? Trying to convince you to be happy in the spirit, in the material world. And by doing that, I mean, they use very subtle psychology to do that. And most people become attracted by it. And they buy, I mean, especially kids, when they have these kids shows on television, they have these cereal advertisements or some new toy advertisement. And all the kids, they tell their mommy or daddy, I want this cereal. Right. Even though the cereals themselves are not really good for you, but yet you become convinced by the advertisement. Okay, so now everything depends on our desires, and all modern advertisement is to build up your desires for sense gratification. All modern education and materialistic schools is to build up your desire for sense gratification. All political discussion is to build up your desire for sense gratification. So therefore, Kali Yuga is a dangerous time to live because everything is directed toward inspiring you to increase your desires for sense gratification. But when Krishna sees you have an interest in hearing about him, then he says, I'm going to help this devotee. But if you desire sense gratification, then he gives you a particular body suitable for sense gratification according to your karma. And therefore it says that if you look in 1861, let's read, you read 1861. Go ahead.
The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy.
Read the purport.
Arjuna was not the supreme knower, and his decision to fight or not to fight was confined to his limited discretion. Lord Krishna instructed that the individual is not all in all. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, or He Himself, Krishna, as the localized Supersoul, sits in the heart directing the living being. After changing bodies, the living entity forgets his past deeds, but the Supersoul, as the knower of the past, present, and future, remains the witness of all his activities. Therefore, all the activities of living entities are directed by this Supersoul. The living entity gets what he deserves and is carried by the material body, which is created in the material energy under the direction of the Supersoul. As soon as the living entity is placed in a particular type of body, he has to work under the spell of that bodily situation. A person seated in a high-speed motor car goes faster than one seated in a slower car. Though the living entities, the drivers may be the same. Similarly, by the order of the Supreme Soul, material nature fashions a particular type of body to a particular type of living entity, so that he may work according to his past desires. The living entity is not independent. One should not think himself independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The individual is always under the Lord's control. Therefore, one's duty is to surrender, and that is the injunction of the next verse.
So there's a lot of very precious information in this verse. So let me see you analyze what's being said. Look at it slowly and verbally make the outline of that purport. And let's everyone take notes on this. We'll go one by one. Start with the first sentence.
Arjuna was not the supreme knower, and his decision to fight.
What verse is it again?
1861.
61, right.
Arjuna was not the supreme knower, and his decision to fight or not to fight was confined to his limited discretion.
Discretion, not discretion. Discretion. Discretion means his ability to decide between what's right and wrong. Okay? So he's not the supreme knower. Who's the supreme knower? Krishna. As Paramatma in the heart. He knows what is the right thing to do all the time. So if the decision he made to fight or not to fight was, it says, confined to his limited discretion. What does that mean in more simple language? Confined to his limited discretion. Yes.
Had some knowledge, about.
Yeah, he had imperfect knowledge.
He had imperfect knowledge on making the decision.
Yes.
He was confined to whatever he knew.
Yeah. So, first point in the outline of this paragraph, all living entities have limited knowledge. Did you write that down, Sanskriti? Point 1. All living entities have limited knowledge. Okay, read the next sentence. Read the next sentence. All living entities have limited knowledge. You and me, you and I are both limited. We're all living entities in the material world, so we all have limited knowledge, right? So it's not possible for us to make the right decision every time. Go ahead.
Lord Krishna instructed that the individual is not all in all.
So Krishna is, okay, point 2. Krishna instructs that the living entity cannot have perfect knowledge. That means we will make mistakes in life, right? Yes. Yeah. Well, in the spiritual world, even in the spiritual world, okay, your question is this also true in the spiritual world, that living entities cannot have perfect knowledge, right? Yeah, because we're part and parcel of Krishna. We're not Krishna, right? But as long as we remain surrendered to Krishna, we and engage in the service, we have the protection of Krishna, and we don't fall down. But as soon as we turn away from Krishna, immediately we fall down. It's like walking on a tightrope. You know what a tightrope is? You ever see people walk on a tightrope? If they make, you never saw it in the circus or
Oh yeah.
you did?
And they walk on the rope.
Right. So if it becomes inattentive, and instead of putting his let's say his left foot on the rope, he misses the rope, what will happen?
He'll fall down.
So spiritual life is like that. As soon as your mind deviates from Krishna, you can fall down. Right? And what is the deviation? Is beginning to desire things that are not in relationship to Krishna. So, what do people desire in this world? Huh? Yeah, but what do they consider happiness? Yeah, to control material nature, some part of material nature, right? Exploit it for their own sense gratification. So what happens is they forget Krishna, they fall down. That happened originally in the spiritual world, and it's happening every day, every minute in this world. Okay, so now read the next sentence. Okay, what points do we have so far? Point 1?
All living entities have limited knowledge.
Right.
And Krishna instructs the living entity cannot have perfect knowledge.
Well, let's say cannot have, in the material world, it's, let's see what it says here. Lord Krishna instructed that the individual is not all in all. Okay, so let's say a living entity can never be equal to or greater than Krishna instead of perfect knowledge. Cannot be equal to or greater than Krishna. Okay, so we're correcting point 2. Instead of saying cannot have perfect knowledge, cannot be equal to or greater than Krishna. Okay, read third sentence.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, or He Himself, Krishna as the localized Supersoul, sits in the heart directing the living being.
Yes. Krishna as Paramatma in the heart. Krishna as Paramatma in the heart directs the wandering of the living entity. Okay, what does that mean? That means that we can't do anything without Krishna's help. We can't engage in nonsense without Krishna's help, and we can't go back to Godhead without Krishna's help. That's what it means.
What's on the third point?
Third point is, Krishna as Paramatma in the heart directs the wandering of the living entity. And this means that we can't do anything without Krishna's help. If we want to do nonsense, Krishna has to help us do it. If we want to go back to Godhead, Krishna has to help us do it. We can't do it on our own. Although we think we are. We think we're doing things on our own, but it's not a fact. Okay, so read point 1, 2, and 3. 1,
All living entities have limited knowledge.
right. 2,
Krishna instructs the living entity cannot be equal to or greater than Krishna.
yes.
And
3.
Krishna as Paramatma in the heart directs the wandering of the living entity.
Yeah, that doesn't mean he's forcing the living entity to go this way or that way. It just means that
He's letting them go.
without Krishna's help, the living entity can't go either towards sense gratification or toward Krishna. He has to have Krishna's help. Right? Just like when you're a child, right? Can you do things on your own, or do you need the help of your parents? You usually need the help of your parents, because you're helpless. Like a baby cannot do anything on its own, right? Except cry, maybe, And so we're like that. We can't really do anything on our own. We need Krishna's help. So that means he's directing the wandering of the living entity. Okay, next sentence.
After changing bodies, the living entity forgets his past deeds, but the supersoul, as the knower of the past, present, and future, remains the witness of all his activities.
Okay, supersoul is the witness. Supersoul, or Krishna is Paramatma, knows past, present, and future, and he's the witness of all activities of the living entity. Yes. Point 4 is that Krishna as a supersoul is the knower of past, present, and future. Point, and then comma, and he is the witness of all activities. Krishna as supersoul knows past, present, and future. Krishna as supersoul knows past, present, and future, and he is the witness of all activities. Krishna as supersoul knows past, present, and future, and he's the witness of all activities. So we can't keep any secrets from Krishna, although we think we can, but we can't. Right? He can see everything we do. He knows everything we did in the past, although we forget it. He knows everything we're doing now, and he knows everything in the future. Yeah.
I have a question about point 3.
Say it out. Let's hold the microphone closer to yourself. Go ahead.
And
Point 3.
so when the living entity wants to do something that's like wrong, so would like
Yes?
if they wanted something for like sense gratification,
Yeah.
would Krishna like stop him or like direct him to it, or like, because it says that he.
Well, it's just like this. Let's say when you're young, very young, you like to eat candy, right? So, and you eat so much candy, you don't want to eat any vegetables. You don't want to eat, and you don't want to drink milk. You just want to eat candy and drink Coca-Cola. So, let's say you were your mom, right? Let's say you are the mom. Would you let your young 3-year-old or 4-year-old child eat candy instead of vegetables and dal and rice and sabji, and drink Coca-Cola instead of milk? What do you say? Hold the microphone near you. You would say
after they eat like their food, I would let them eat like one piece of candy or something.
No, but they don't want to eat the food. I don't want that.
Then I wouldn't give them candy.
Okay. So, but let's say they grow older and they're like 15 or 16, and they don't want to eat vegetables and dal and rice, and they only want to eat candy and drink Coca-Cola. Could you stop them?
I,
Huh? No, but then they might slap you back.
No.
Huh?
Well, you're there. Well, I don't know. I'd slap them back again.
Well, maybe they're bigger than you by that time. They can slap you harder.
I'll slap them.
No, but that wouldn't stop them from eating. I mean, would you like it if your dad slapped you?
Nope.
Okay, so it's not. That doesn't mean you can stop someone just because you slap them. So you see, you can stop them when they're really young, but when they get older, you might not be able to stop them. So if a person insists on doing something wrong and constantly desires it, finally Krishna says, okay, go ahead.
so in the beginning, he tries to stop them.
No, he never tries to stop. What he does is try to convince them. Look what he says to Arjuna. In the 18th chapter, he says that, "O Arjuna, have you heard this Bhagavad Gita with an attentive mind? And is your ignorance, and are your ignorance and illusion now finished?" Krishna was acting as the spiritual master of Arjuna. Therefore, it was his duty to inquire from Arjuna whether he understood the whole Bhagavad Gita in its proper perspective. If not, the Lord was ready to re-explain any point or the whole Bhagavad Gita if so required. Actually, anyone who hears Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide spiritual master like Krishna or his representative will find that all his ignorance is dispelled. Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary book written by a poet or a fiction writer. It is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any person fortunate enough to hear these teachings from Krishna or from his bona fide spiritual representative is sure to become a liberated person and get out of the darkness of ignorance. Right? So, this is verse 72, chapter 18. However, after this, Krishna says, before that, Krishna said, he says, I have explained to you this most confidential knowledge. Think about this, and then do what you wish to do. So he doesn't force him. He says, I've explained everything to you. If you want, I'll explain it all over again. But in the end, he says, Yatachasi tatakuru. Do what you want to do. So he doesn't force. Right? So when you're a little child, your parents may force you not to eat so much candy and drink Coca-Cola, right? But you get to be 15, 16, or 18 years old, they can't force you anymore.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can't.
Why?
Legally, you can't. No, if you say, okay, if you keep eating candy on this, I'm going to beat you up. Well, the parents can go to jail for violently beating their children nowadays. Nowadays. Before they could do it, in India and even the United States, before 1960s, you could.
Wait, in India you could do it, right? Like teachers took. Yeah, in India.
Yeah.
Like,
No, in the United States also they used to do that, but now it's not allowed.
Even in India?
Even in India, it's not allowed anymore.
they still do it. Yeah, they still smack their kids.
There were, but the laws have changed, even in India. What?
Your cousins still get.
Oh, in the United States, for sure, the law has changed, right? Maybe in India, in some parts, they get away with it, but it's changed there also, believe me. Okay, so Krishna never forces you to do anything. On the other hand, material nature forces you. to do things. Like, are you forced to go to the toilet? Huh? Yeah. Are you forced to go to sleep? Are you forced to wake up? Right? So you see, material nature is forcing you to do things. But Krishna doesn't force you. He doesn't force you to become his devotee. He doesn't force you to go away from him. Those are decisions that you make, either because you're enlightened by teachings of a bona fide guru, and therefore you decide to serve Krishna, or you're dumbed down by bad association and you decide not to serve Krishna. Just like someone can tell you, oh, eating meat is so good, it's so tasty and juicy, hamburger, it's wonderful. So they might be able to convince you to eat meat. You think so? You think it's possible? It is possible if you associate with them enough. But if you don't associate with such people, then it's not possible. Yes?
This is kind of off-topic question. Like in school,
Okay, microphone.
like in school,
Hold the microphone close.
they say like since if you eat plants, then aren't you killing organisms too? Thing.
Yes.
So like, what am I supposed to say back to them?
Okay, good question. You give the example of an American soldier in the Army, or the Navy, or the Marines, or whatever. Now, they have what's called the Geneva Convention. The Geneva Convention are the rules of military engagement. If a person, the enemy, surrenders unto you, according to the Geneva Convention, you're not allowed to kill them. You take them as a prisoner, and you can hold them until the end of the war as a prisoner, or even longer. If you summarily, in other words, summarily means without following Geneva Convention, an enemy soldier surrenders unto you and you kill them, you can be prosecuted for murder, even though it's wartime. Understand? So, but if you kill an enemy soldier in the process of fighting, you're given a medal and you're honored. Now let's understand how this happens. A higher authority called like the President of the United States, who's the Commander-in-Chief of the Army and all military forces in the United States, makes rules. And then sometimes they sign on the Geneva Convention, which was made by the United Nations, of rules of engagement on battlefield. The same thing exists in the Bhagavad Gita. During the Battle of Kurukshetra, they would only fight during the day. There was the rules. They would never fight at night. You could only fight with people equal to you. You could not fight with people less than you. You could only kill them while in a fight amongst equals, right? So there were rules, even in Vedic times, of war. So the government, you join the army, you learn all the rules. If you break the rules, you're prosecuted for murder. If you follow the rules, you're given a medal and glorified.
Just like that for if the weed, they kind of surrendered to you, and then you can.
No, but it's the same way Krishna says, offer me a leaf, fruit, flour, and water, and I'll accept it. He doesn't say offer me meat. So we're acting under higher authority.
Okay.
Just like in the army.
Yes, Prabhu.
You can kill under certain circumstances. But if you go outside of the circumstances, you're prosecuted. God has the authority.
looks so funny. Her hair. So cute. That's mine. They stole it from me. Oh, you wanna come to Ranja said you two can come to the sleepover. And she was like, who else? And I was like, oh, Shivani and something. In Ranja's house. Yashomati Nandana Brajavarana Gada Gokula Ranjana Kana. You're the main. Gopi Paranadana Madala Manohara Kaliyada Manamidana Amala Harira Mamiya Vilasa Vipina Purandara Navina Nagara Bora Bamsi Badana Suvasa Brajajana Palana Surakulana Sana Ganda Godana Rakuvala Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Sundarananda Gopala Yamuna Tata Chara Gopi Vasana Hara Rasa Rasika Kripa Moya Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara Bhakti Vinodashaya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. What's now? Jaya Radha, Nila Madhav Radha, Nila Madhav Radha. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Sita Ram, Jaya Sita Sitaram Jaya, Sitaram Jaya, Lakshman Hanuman. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
विष्णुपदा परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सत श्री श्रीमद श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय जय ओम विष्णुपदा परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की, इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की। राधा नील माधव की। श्री वृंदावन धाम की, श्री मायापुर धाम की, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, गंगा माई की, यमुना माई की, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, बृहद मृदंगा की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees. Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki.
Okay, so we're going back to this. The question is, sometimes people say, you say don't eat meat, but vegetables also have life. You also say that vegetables have souls, even though Christians don't believe that, but we say they do. So how can you eat vegetables then? You're killing a living entity. Yes? The law of mineral life? What? Law of what?
Minimal violence.
Oh, law of minimal violence. Yes. Okay. What do you want to know about that?
No, is it like if someone says that if you eat plants, you're also killing life?
Yes.
Isn't it like it's like less violence if you eat plants rather than
You can make that point, but that's not the real point. But obviously, you're committing less violence by eating plants only, right? Definitely. But that's not enough evidence to convince someone. Yes. What? Well, no. The issue is this. Krishna is the ultimate authority, right? So he explains what you can offer to him, and by explaining what you can offer to him, he also indicates what you can't offer to him. So if Krishna says, offer me with love and devotion a leaf, fruit, water, and flower. So you can't offer anything else. He only accepts those 4 things. So by saying that, he explains what you can offer to him and what you can't offer to him. Yeah. How's what? You need a microphone so
Because you said that you can't offer like vegetables, right?
You can't?
Yeah. Oh, you can. Okay.
Okay, now, and the example of the military is important because, or the police force, like policemen can use a gun and shoot someone and kill them. And as long as they follow the rules, they're not prosecuted as a criminal. In fact, they're given a medal and they're glorified, right? But if they kill someone by not following the rules, they can be prosecuted for murder, and it's happening a lot nowadays. If the policeman abusively kills someone without following the rules of engagement. So therefore, you're allowed to kill vegetables as long as they're offered to Krishna properly. And only certain vegetables, not all vegetables, right? Not allowed to kill onions, garlic, things like that. But you can kill certain vegetables and offer them to Krishna, and the soul in that particular vegetable body comes much quicker to the human form of life because it's been offered to Krishna. I once met this Buddhist person, and we were talking about vegetarianism, and then he tells me that he eats meat. I said, what? You're not supposed to eat meat. He said, no, our gurus have told us we can eat meat. So there are Buddhists who eat meat. So I said to him, but you're killing a living entity. Oh, no, when we eat the meat, then the soul in the meat goes quicker to the human form of life. Now, is that the same thing that we're saying? Why not? You're shaking your head. Get the microphone.
Because we're saying that when you kill a plant, or like when you eat a plant, the soul goes faster to human.
That's what the.
Because you offer it, and you don't offer meat. So.
What's that? Say that.
Because we offer the vegetables and fruits, but you can't offer meat, so it doesn't.
Yes, that's true. But he wasn't offering. He's saying just because they eat it, the meat, it comes to the human form of life. You see how this is called a deviation. It's a false teaching. The fact is, Krishna gives permission to offer him leaf, water, fruit, and flower. Right? That means grains, vegetables, and nuts, and things like that. Milk, you can offer to Krishna. But he doesn't accept anything else, which is meat and liquor and things like that. Doesn't accept. Okay, so if we offer what Krishna wants, then the souls that we kill, like the tomatoes and the apples and the oranges and things like that, they're elevated quicker to the human form of life because they've been used in the service of Krishna and offered to Krishna. However, the Buddhist is saying, oh yeah, we can eat meat, and just by virtue of us eating the meat, they're not talking about offering it to Buddha, just by virtue of us eating meat, the soul in the meat comes to human form quicker. So you see, basically what they've done is taking Krishna out of the picture and putting themselves in the picture as if they're Krishna. You see? So, in the same way, if you eat a vegetable, you don't offer it to Krishna, right? According to chapter 3, verse number 13, you are eating sin. Yajna sistastinak santa muchyate sarvakilbasai. Bunjate tvagam papam ye pachanti atmakarna. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. Okay, so let's look this verse up, 3:13. 3:13. And Kishori, you can read the purport. 3:13. So the answer to your question was that higher authorities can sanction limited killing, just like the American soldier is permitted to kill people on the battlefield in according to the rules of engagement, of warfare. After the war, if he comes back to the United States and kills somebody, he's a criminal. He's put in jail. On the battlefield, let's say he kills 50 people, 50 enemy soldiers, he's given a medal, he's glorified as being a hero. But if he comes back to America and kills somebody, he's a criminal, and he can end up being hanged. So higher authorities can sanction limited killing according to rules and regulations. And that's exactly what Krishna has done. He's sanctioning the killing of leaf, water, fruit, and flower and offering to him. And there's no sin involved as long as you follow the rules. Okay? That's the answer. Go ahead. And the answer is like this. We answer the question by explaining something known to that person so that they can understand something that's unknown. What? What?
If he's like Christian, then we say like Jesus or something?
No. We're giving you an example of the American soldier. That's something that's known. Or a policeman. That's
like,
something that's known.
For that, like you said, like the higher authorities. So what they don't know probably what Christian consciousness is.
No. They know that the President of the United States is the commander-in-chief of the army, and the police chief in a police district like Seattle makes the rules. You see, the president makes the rules for the soldiers, the police chief, and the legislators in a city or a country or a state make the rules for the policemen. As long as the policeman follows the rules, if he kills someone following the rules, he's a hero. If he kills someone breaking the rules, he's a criminal. The same thing with the soldier. If he follows the rules, like for example, there was a man in World War I. He was a hero. He killed, I think, like 50 enemy soldiers by himself. He went to the enemy side, got into a trench where there were a lot of enemy soldiers, and started, mowing them down with his machine gun. This guy was a hero. When he came back to the United States, he was greeted as a great hero, even though he killed 50 men, right? Because he followed the rules. He didn't break the rules. So if higher authority sanctions killing under certain, limited killing under certain circumstances, like warfare, there's no sin involved. So that's an example that they know. So we're giving them an example that they know to understand something unknown. Why? There's no sin involved in killing vegetables, because Krishna will accept them as an offering. Okay? Okay, so let's read now. This is chapter 3, verse 13. Read the verse first and then the purport. Go ahead.
The translation?
What?
I shall now explain the
No, chapter 3, verse 13. Chapter 3, verse 13. Chapter 3, verse 13. Go ahead.
The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice.
Okay, you see this? Now you can use this verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhu, you can use this verse in the Bhagavad Gita to support the example of the soldiers and higher authority sanctioning limited killing. What does it say? Read it again.
The devotees of the Lord are
Hold the microphone closer to your mouth.
The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice.
Okay? So now you have two verses, 3:13 and 9:26. Patram pushpam phalam toyam, 9:26, and yajna sistastina santa muchyante sarva kilbasai, which means devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. Okay, now read the purport.
The devotees of the Supreme Lord, or the persons who are in Krishna consciousness, are called Shantas, and they are always in love with the Lord, as it is described in the Brahma Samhita. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena Shanta sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. The Shantas being always in compact of love with the Supreme
In other words, they're always in love with Krishna.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, the giver of all pleasures, or Mukunda, the giver of liberation, or Krishna, the all-attractive person, cannot accept anything without first offering it to the Supreme Person. Therefore, such devotees always perform yajnas in different modes of devotional service, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, and Archanam, etc. And these performances of yajnas keep them always aloof from all kinds of contamination of sinful association in the material world. Others who prepare food for self or sense gratification are not only thieves but also the eaters of all kinds of sins. How can a person be happy if he is both thief and sinful? It is not possible. Therefore, in order for people to become happy in all respects, they must be taught to perform the easy process of Sankirtan Yajna in full Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there is no peace or happiness in the world.
Okay. So now we'll go back to 1861 and finish the outline. So the answer to your question, you have two verses in Bhagavad Gita, 9:26 and 3:13, that explains why there's no sin involved by offering fruits and vegetables and grains to Krishna, even though you're killing living entities. Okay, so now where were we? I think Shivani, were you reading 1861? No, okay, where were we? Okay, give her the microphone. We didn't do point 4? We did do point 4, yeah. Okay, so now read the next sentence. Point 4 is the supersoul is the knower of past, present, and future, and he's the witness of all activities. Next sentence.
Therefore, all the activities of living entities are directed by the supersoul.
Okay, so it says here, after changing bodies, the living entity forgets his past deeds. But the supersoul is the knower of the past, present, and future, remains the witness of all his activities. Therefore, all the activities of living entities are directed by the supersoul. Okay, read the next verse.
Next verse.
Next sentence.
The living entity gets what he deserves and is carried by the material body, which is created in the material energy under the direction of the supersoul.
Okay, so the body is directed by, the body is subject to the laws of material nature, and especially the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And Krishna knows what the living entity did in a previous life. So he knows what the karma is of the living entity. Therefore, he gives the living entity in the next life a particular type of body in which they can receive the karma that they deserve. This whole thing is controlled by Krishna. And forgetting one's previous life is also controlled by Krishna. Otherwise, a person wouldn't be free to decide either to surrender to Krishna or continue to sin. You see? So all these things are controlled by Krishna so that the living entity is not forced to surrender to Krishna. Like, for example, let's say you are God. Let's say Tulsi is God. Right? Of course, she's not God, but let's imagine that she's God. And you want to create this, you want to create the world and populate it with living entities, right? Why do you want to create the world? Because there are a number of living entities that you already created, that already are part and parcel of you, but who revolted against you. So you have to put them somewhere else other than the spiritual world because they revolted against you. So you put them in the jailhouse called the material world, and the purpose of a jail is what? What's the purpose of going when they put prisoners in jail? You know what the purpose of Pranay? You know the purpose of a jail? Huh? What? Get the microphone.
Nose locked?
No, that's not the purpose. That is a sub-purpose. It's not the main purpose. Yeah. Wait a minute. I have to call on you. Right. Okay, we'll call in Sanskrit. Go ahead. Microphone. 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 Go ahead.
It's like a that prisoners can realize their mistake and become better.
Yes. It's for rehabilitation of the prisoner. Rehabilitate, to change their mentality from criminal to someone who follows the rules of society, so they can reintegrate again back into normal society. And if they don't learn, if they don't accept to be rehabilitated, then they'll keep them in jail. Okay. So, if Tulsi is God, then she would create a prison house called the material world, where living entities who revolted against the God are given a chance to correct themselves. But while they're in the material world, they're subject to the laws of karma. Therefore, if they do good things, they're rewarded. If they do bad things, they're punished. Right? For example, there was a person named Pavlov. He was a psychiatrist in Russia. And he wanted to see if he could train rats to do something. Rats, yeah. So he made what's called a labyrinth. You know what a labyrinth is? Labyrinth? Okay. It's a maze, yeah. But you probably don't know what a maze is either, right? You do, but the others don't. What is a maze? Microphone, microphone, microphone.
Where there's like walls. And
Hold
stuff.
it closer to your mouth.
When there's like walls, and then you have to go through from one side to another.
Yeah, but it's very confusing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what Pavlov did was he made a maze or a labyrinth, and it had two entrances, one going left, one going right, right? So the one going right, he put an electric shock, and the one going left, there was a piece of cheese. So after trial and error, the rats always turn left, they never turn right. Then, in the next generation of rats, they naturally turn left, never turn right.
Wait, left is the cheese?
Yes. So the behavior of turning left was learned by the rats, right, in the first generation, and then it became hereditary in the second and third generation, you see. So Pavlov proved that you can condition the behavior even of rats. What about human beings? Right? By reward and punishment. So if you do the wrong thing, you're punished. If you do the right thing, you're rewarded. So the law of karma is like that also for the prisoners in the prison house. If they do the right thing, they can get out of jail sooner. If they do the wrong thing, they stay in jail longer or forever. Okay? And the same thing is done with children. If you do the right thing, are you rewarded or punished? Huh? What? Okay. If you listen, you won't have to ask me what the question is. The same thing that Pavlov did with the rats, you can do with human beings. And that's why there's the law of karma, because what does the law of karma do? It rewards people who do the right thing, and it punishes people who do the wrong thing. Right? So just like in your family, if you do the right thing, are you rewarded or punished? Rewarded. And if you do the wrong thing, are you rewarded or punished? Punished. So what does that reward and punishment do? Huh?
The same thing again.
Yeah, it trains you to do the right thing and to avoid doing the wrong thing. Now, do all children follow this? No, some children refuse to do the right thing all the time. Or they might do it when they're younger, and then when they get older and get completely poisoned by public schools and bad association, they learn to do the wrong thing, and they refuse to cooperate. Yeah. Now, we hope that doesn't happen to you, but it happens a lot, right? Okay, so therefore, all the activities of living entities are directed by the supersoul. So Krishna knows what we've done in the past, and he knows what our karma is, and we will get what we deserve. So therefore, Krishna gives us our next body that's made specifically according to our karma, what we deserve. And in that body, there's certain things that will be rewarded for the good things we did in our past life, and there's certain things for which we're going to be punished because of what we did in the previous life. Yes? What? Okay, point 5 is all the activities of the living entities are directed by Krishna. Huh? All All the activities of the living entities are directed by Krishna. All the activities of living entities are directed by Krishna. Who chooses a particular body for the living entity, who chooses a particular body for the living entity, that suffers and enjoys due to karma, that suffers and enjoys due to its karma from previous life. Did anyone write this down?
I'm still writing it down.
Okay, what did you write so far? Of course, Pranay didn't write anything down. Okay, what did you write down?
All the activities of living beings are directed by for the living entity. All the activities of living beings are directed by choosing a particular body for the living entity that suffers and enjoys.
Who? Living entity who suffers? Who? Not that. Who suffers or enjoys? Suffers or enjoys, not and.
Yeah.
Due to its karma of the previous birth.
What?
Of the previous birth.
Of the
All the activities of living beings are directed by Krishna who chooses a particular body from the living entities who suffers or enjoys
Due to its previous life.
due to karma of the previous birth.
Due to karma of the previous life, yes. Okay, that's point number 5. Okay, next sentence. As soon as
a living entity is placed in a particular type of body, he has to work under the spell of that bodily situation.
in the next body, the living entity is forced to act according to his previous karma. In the next body, the living entity is forced to act. Yeah. In the next body, the living entity is forced to act according to his previous karma. Forced to act according to his previous karma. In the next body, the living entity is forced to act according to his previous karma. Therefore, he is never independent. Therefore, he is never independent. Yeah, that's part of point 6. Therefore, he is never independent. The only, point 7, the only hope for the living entity is to surrender to Krishna. The only hope for the living entities, this is point 7, is to surrender to Krishna. And thus go back to Godhead. Okay, so that's the outline of that purport. Yes. Point 6. Okay.
In the next body, the living entity is supposed to act according to his previous karma.
Okay. Point 6 is, in his next body, the living entity is forced to act according to his previous karma. Therefore, he is never independent. So how do we relate this to ourselves? Tell me. Someone can say, how do you relate what we just read to ourselves? Anybody want to venture an answer? Sidhu, you want to make an answer or give an answer? How do we relate what we just read and made an outline to our life, to your life?
Go back to Krishna.
No, but how do you relate what we read to your life? Are you independent right now?
No.
Do you know what your karma was in your previous life?
No.
So, what should be your decision in this life? What should be the decision of how you want to live this life?
You should try to go back to Godhead. So, like, the goal of life is to go back to Godhead.
Yes. How do you do that? You buy a bus ticket? And
you have to do devotional service to Krishna.
Yes. That's the way you can go back to Godhead. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, do most people decide to do that?
No.
Why not?
Because they're nonsense people.
They're what?
They're nonsense people.
Well, that's not answering the question. Yes, they are nonsense, but that's not answering. Why don't they decide to do that?
They're like attached to everything in the material.
Yeah, they've been trained by material education and materialistic association to be attached to sense gratification. Therefore, they don't want to serve Krishna. They want to serve their own senses.
No.
Okay. Good. Therefore, there's a nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Write this verse down. Srimad Bhagavatam. Just write the number down. Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 1st chapter, 10th verse. 1:10. Srimad Bhagavatam. And it says, Prayana prayasa sabha kalavasmin yuge jana manda sumanda mataya manda bhagya upadadra. It says, in this iron age of Kali, men have short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Okay, so you can write the English down. I'm going to quote it slowly. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.10. Ready? In the age of Kali, People have short lives. Maximum 100 years. Most people don't live to be 100. They live 60, 70, maybe 80. In the age of Kali, most people have short lives. They're always quarrelsome, meaning they always argue. A-R-G-U-E. They always argue. Any of you argue sometimes? Yeah. You argue sometimes? They always argue, comma. They are lazy, L-A-Z-Y, comma. Misguided, M-I-S-G-U-I-D-E-D, misguided, comma. Misguided, comma. Just lost my place. One second. Unlucky, comma. And above all, always disturbed. This is a description of people in the age of Kali, the age that we're living in now. They have short lives, they're always arguing, they're lazy, they're misguided, meaning they're always taught to go in the wrong way. So, like, for example, they might teach you, you might have a class on nutrition in your school, right? And then they show the nutrition pyramid, right? And on the top they have, I don't know, maybe they have vegetables, then they have grains, and then they have meat. So kids, young kids are being taught, oh, you have to have a balanced diet, you know, and they show you the nutritional pyramid. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Right. Was there meat in it? There was no meat? Was there meat in it? What? Yeah, but did they have meat in that pyramid? Yeah. Yeah. So, you see, that's called misguided. Well, your teacher was trying to be nice to you and said, well, you can eat beans instead of meat. But they definitely had meat in that pyramid, right? So that's being misguided. It's being misled. And then unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. So this is the symptoms of people in this age of Kali. And above all, they're disturbed and not peaceful in the mind. They're always agitated by something. Okay, so everything depends on our desires. So when we desire to serve Krishna, then we're on the path of liberation. And if we desire to serve ourselves, then we become conditioned. And this is explained in the 3rd chapter, 28th verse, chapter 3, verse 28. Let's open that up. Chapter 3, verse 28. Yajnatat karmano nyata lokamam. No, I'm sorry, not 28. No, it's not 28. It is verse number 9. 3:9. Yajnatat karmano nyata lokamam karma bandhanai. Tadaratam karma konteya mukta sangha param brajet. Yes. 3:9. 3:9. Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, 9th verse. Pranay, have you taken any notes at all? Yeah, okay. Do you have your Bhagavad Gita? Nope. Yep. Okay. So you can read. You have your Bhagavad Gita? Yeah. Where is it? No, it should be 3.9. Let's read it, and this will be the last thing we discuss. Yeah, no, read the verse first. Yes.
Work done as sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction.
Satisfaction, not satisfaction.
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 And in that way you will always remain free from bondage.
Okay. So, can you explain in simple English what this verse is saying? Can you speak into the microphone also so we can hear you?
It says that you have to perform sacrifices to the Lord's satisfaction.
Lord, which Lord?
Krishna.
Yes. And what else does it say?
And doing that, you will always be free from bondage.
Right. What does it imply? The implication is, if you don't do this, what will happen?
It causes bondage in the material world.
Yeah, it means you stay in the material world, subject to birth and death, old age and disease. Okay, now read the purport, first paragraph.
Since one has to work even for the simple maintenance of the body, the prescribed duties for a particular social position and quality are so made that the purpose can be fulfilled. Yajna means Lord Vishnu, or sacrificial performance. Sacrificial performances. All sacrificial performances are also meant for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. The Vedas enjoin
Yajyo vai Vishnuhu.
In other words, the same purpose is served whether one perform prescribed yagnas or directly serves Lord Vishnu. Krishna conscious is therefore performance or yagna as it is prescribed in this verse. The
Performance of yagya, not or yagya.
Okay. The Varnastrama institution also aims at satisfying Lord Vishnu. Vishnu Purana 3.8.8.
Okay. So who's going to read second paragraph? Go ahead. Therefore.
Yeah. Therefore, one has to work for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Any other work done in this material world will be a cause of bondage. For both good and evil work have their reactions, and any reaction binds the performer.
So we have to engage in activities that have no karmic reactions. That is called akarma, A-K-A-R-M-A. There's karma, vikarma, and akarma. 3 types. Karma, vikarma, and akarma. So karma means acting according to the Vedic instructions for positive results. And vikarma means acting against the Vedic injunctions or rules for negative results. And akarma means working without any good or bad results, simply to please Krishna. So, let me ask a question, see if someone can answer this. If you do good karma, will you be liberated from the material world? No. Why? Can you speak in that?
Karma requires you to be in the material world?
Yeah, if there's good karma or bad karma, you stay in the material world to get the karma, to get the result. So then how can you be liberated?
No karma.
No karma, exactly. Or akarma. It's activities only to please Krishna. You're not trying to please yourself. So you can try and please yourself by following the Vedic rules, or you can not please yourself by not following the Vedic rules. Both ways you stay in the material world. So then what's the solution? Learn to please Krishna. Okay, who's going to read the second paragraph? Okay.
Still in the second paragraph.
Huh?
We're still in the second paragraph.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Therefore, Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Vishnu. And while performing such activities, one is in a liberated stage. This is the great art of doing work. And if
In the beginning of this process.
And in the beginning of this process requires very expert guidance. One should therefore act very diligently.
What does that mean, diligently? Yes. Yeah, carefully, very carefully, paying attention, right?
Diligent.
Not like Sidhu, not paying attention. He's not being diligent right now. Go ahead.
Under the expert guidance of a devotee of Lord Krishna, or under the direct instruction of Lord Krishna himself, under whom Arjuna had the opportunity to work. Nothing should be performed for sense gratification, but everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from the reaction of work, but also gradually elevate one to transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to the kingdom of God.
Very good. Okay, any questions? All right, so homework that you probably won't do, but anyway, if you do it, you get an eternal karmic benefit going back to Godhead. Actually, it's an akarmic benefit. Homework is explain the difference between karma, vikarma, and akarma. And you will find the answer in the 3rd chapter.
Wait, how do you spell
Karma?
vikarma?
V-I-K-A-R-M-A.
And what was the last one?
Akarma. A-K-A-R-M-A. Karma, vikarma, and akarma. And you'll find the answer in the 4th chapter, where you're going to find that answer. You find the answer at chapter 4, verse 18. Back chapter, 4, verses 17 and 18. Yeah. What? Verses, 4th chapter, verses 17 and 18. You'll find the answer. Karma, vikarma, and akarma. Okay? All right. Thank you very much.
I am Akshu.
Hare Krishna.
To Akash. I am.
So we covered a lot of points today. Huh? What? Explain what is karma, vikarma, and akarma by reading chapter 4, verses 17 and 18. Prabhupada ki jai.